I'm going to talk a little bit about urban regeneration, which is the basis of my work, and that is, it's a really broad topic, and I only have 15 minutes. So instead of talking in a great deal of detail with a lot of maps and charts that I usually foist on unsuspecting audiences, I thought today I might speak a little bit more about the conceptual framework that drives my work, which is why you're looking at images of broken ceramics rather than broken cities at the moment. These are pieces that were part of an exhibition that was at Cornell University a couple of years ago that highlights this Japanese cultural tradition of artfully repairing damaged objects. That when something valuable was broken, it wasn't thrown away, and it wasn't repaired in such a way that the break was seamless and invisible. Instead, the damaged part, in fact, was highlighted with elevated materials, gold, enamel, something that called attention to the damage while repairing it, and in fact, adding to the aesthetic value and also the history of the object. And in fact, the repaired object is more valuable than it was before it was broken. Now, I promise I won't belabor this metaphor. I do get kind of hung up on things sometimes, but I really do think that this possibility of understanding how we mend broken ceramics can really have a translation to how we repair broken cities. Because, modern cities were designed around this idea that we need places that are ordered and controlled. But no matter how permanent we think we build cities, the fact is that they're actually quite fragile and they get broken all the time. And sometimes it takes a natural disaster to sort of shake us into an understanding that the world is a little bit beyond our control and that there is chaos and uncertainty around every corner. And when things like this, of this scale, happen, the first instinct always, and you can see it in cities whenever something bad happens, the first instinct is to repair things as quickly as possible, put them back the way they were and the way they're supposed to be, because I think very few of us really know how to deal with uncertainty and chaos, and we have really no clue about how to make meaning from loss. On the grand scale, the sad case of Haiti, where an entire country, not just a city, has been broken. I mean, there's a lot of decisions that are going to have to be made about how to repair this place and make it a more resilient and sustainable a system once the rebuilding process begins. And then there are these kinds of breaks that we're much more familiar with and becoming more familiar with here in Cleveland. The breaks in urban fabric that come from abandonment, economic decline, and population loss. In Braddock, Pennsylvania, people speak of this sense that you're always aware there of the passage of time because these cycles of growth and decline are just everywhere, and dealing with uncertainty has become kind of part of day-to-day life in that particular community. I've got a lot of slides of damaged cities, but I'll get on, I promise. Detroit, your kind of classic example of a broken city, where this very unsettling and unintended, uncomfortable beauty is starting to emerge from the broken pieces of the city that remain. So, okay, here we are, home sweet home, Cleveland. I have better pictures of Cleveland, but I'm trying to make a point here. Cleveland is a really, really damaged place. This isn't news to any of you, but I think the one thing, if the only thing that you remember of what I say, the thing that's important to know is that there are so many people here trying to fix things. And it's that process of mending and repairing that speaks to the inherent value of this place. If this place wasn't important, if it wasn't valuable, we would walk away, and we don't. We stay, and we try to make things better however we can. One more specific, example is our water cycle. It's a very clear example of something that's broken in our city. I don't know if you can tell what you're looking at here on the left, but this is Big Creek, where a rather enterprising property owner decided to deal with stream bank erosion and flooding by lining up a series of old washing machines around the edge of the water. I got this slide from a friend of mine at the sewer district who captioned it, stream bank restoration by Maytag. It's not the way we do it, but the sewer district and local watershed groups are trying very hard, working very diligently to begin to repair this water system. It's very striking and appalling, in fact, that the thing that sustains us, the reason we're here, the lake and the river, have been treated with so much disrespect over the years. So figuring out how we can actually deal with erosion, flooding, this combined sewer overflow problem that dumps raw sewage into our lake every time there's a heavy rain. This is one of our key challenges. So let me show you a map. I didn't put many in this presentation, but here's one that I thought really kind of evoked the notion of broken ceramics, broken pottery, broken cities. The lines you see on the map, the sort of dark purplish brown lines, are the city's natural waterways. Like all Great Lakes cities, Cleveland has this really complex and beautiful hydrology. But the thing about it is you can't see it. It's all been buried and culverted. The things we do when cities were growing, development was the priority, and so when water got in the way, you put it in the pipe underground and built right on top. So aside from the Cuyahoga and the Doan Brook a little bit, and a little piece of the Rocky River, all the rest of the city's natural water systems are underground. So, okay. The city has 20,000 vacant lots. Almost half of those are in the city's land bank, and that number is growing, literally every day. So what if we began to think about mending these cracks, mending these breaks in the city by collecting some of the vacant sites that sit on top of or within 200 feet of a culvert? That's what this map shows. The purple lines are the culverts, the dark red are vacant sites. We see that, kind of over time, we can begin this process of mending that would restore a more natural pattern of hydrology to our city. When we were growing, we ignored and obliterated our waterways, but now that our real estate market is weak and we have a lot of surplus real estate, we can begin this process of repair. Now, I'm not talking about daylighting. I always have to provide that caveat because we don't have enough money. There just isn't enough money to return every stream and creek in the city of Cleveland to its natural state. But we can sort of parcel by parcel begin this process of patching, repairing, so that over time, we start to build a system. We get these kind of wild and slightly woolly, rugged green fibers, these green repairs along the breaks, so that the break is still visible, but through this process, it's transformed. Okay, so one other thing. Sometimes there are a lot of breaks in the city that we just don't know how to fix, or we can't figure it out right now because there's so much unpredictability in this environment and in this place at this moment in time. So this is a site, this is in Glenville, where there used to be a gas station here. There are properties like this all over the city. We see them a little bit in the inner ring suburbs as well. There was a gas station here, and as a result, there's a lot of petroleum and other contamination in the soil. Now, the former property owner is obligated to clean up this site, but it's taking a while, It's going to probably take several years, if not longer. And so in the meantime, this vacant, contaminated property sits in a city neighborhood. It's an eyesore. It undermines adjacent property values. So what can we do? How can we think about some of these sites? There's no point doing a permanent repair in this location at this moment because, in the next several years, the whole site will be turned upside down in order to remediate the contamination. So my organization worked with the local chapter of Architecture for Humanity to spin out some sort of prototypical notions, temporary repairs that can happen here, intentionally low cost, collaborating with the neighborhood so that we can test some ideas about how we fix certain kinds of problems in the city. And the nice thing about this is that if we get it wrong, and frankly, urban designers get things wrong more often than you'd think, if we get it wrong, we can fix it, This process of prototyping enables us to make better decisions when it's time to make a permanent investment. We have land and we have time, which is this really beautiful laboratory that we have to work with. Okay, one more thing that I wanted to show you. A really typical way that cities get broken all the time and over time is through freeway systems. This is Tremont, in case you don't recognize it. This is a break that happened 50, 60 years ago, and the break never healed. You know why? Because all we have here is this ridiculous little Band-Aid of a pedestrian bridge to fix that damage. And it's a scary pedestrian bridge at that. It's this little cage suspended over 490. I mean, if that's the way that you mend urban fabric, well, it's just never going to heal. So I don't know how to fix damage at this scale, on a permanent basis, but we have this initiative through my organization called PopUp City that's about temporary interventions, ways that if we can't figure out the real long-term repair, we can do things short-term. We work with artists and community activists. These are my friends, Alex Tapier and Wes Johansson, who for one night turned that scary bridge into a place of comfort and respite. They made it into a living room. It had a sofa and a wood-burning fireplace. Well, it wasn't really wood. Anyway, it was really fun. For one night, the damage, this rip in the fabric, was at least mended, and it was a nice night. And my thinking here is that if we can fix things for a night, maybe the next time we touch a piece of sort of city property, that we can make this repair last a little longer, so that over time, eventually, we can get to a place where the permanent repairs can take hold, and we can really start dealing with the fragmented city that remains and beginning to integrate neighborhoods and processes and people in a way that feels more sustainable and more accommodating of human interactions. Okay, where my metaphor starts to fall apart is that bulls are objects, cities are processes. And so figuring out kind of how you apply a repair process to something that's in motion is the work, it's sort of the heart of the work that we do. The project on the right is a project I did with an artist from Prague, Martin Papson, who I don't think you can see in the photo, but he's there. He called me and said that he would like to turn a house inside out. People call me with these kinds of requests more often than you'd realize. And I said, you want to turn a house inside out? All right, let's find you a house. So the city demolished 1,700 houses last year. It wasn't that hard to find him a house. And he literally sliced the walls off the house and flipped them so that out was in and in was out. Oh, I'm not supposed to move too much, so I don't want to lose my mic. So I mean, there are ways of dealing with objects in the urban landscape that can begin to suggest, if not repairs, at least the questions we may need to ask. Martin's work really resonated with this idea that the foreclosure crisis has upended our city. And why didn't we see it coming? How can we deal with the fallout? And what do we do next? None of those questions are answered, but at least, if we begin to ask those questions in the context of city neighborhoods, we may end up getting closer to an answer, I hope, over time. Now, I'll just say in closing that, particularly with regard to some of these temporary projects, a lot of people think I'm just goofing around, but it's not true. I mean, I'm dead serious. I think that if we can find ways to repair the city in ways that embrace the break, embrace the damage, and acknowledge it, at the same time enabling us to move on. And also working on some of these fleeting, ephemeral moments that we can plant around the city in order to provoke conversation, discussion, and questions. I think that these things may add up to more kind of emotional resilience, if you will. And I think that it'll equip us with a skill set that we're going to need in order to face whatever catastrophe or apocalypse is coming next. And I guess that sounded a little less crazy in my head than when I said it out loud. But I think you know what I mean. At that, I think that I will end. But I just want to say that if you're interested in some of the more detailed and technical aspects of our work, please go to our website. You can download any of our publications. Or if you find me, I can give you certainly paper copies of everything that we produce. So thank you very much.